When our worlds collided, we were unprepared for magic. All of our technology was useless against the elves and their sorcerers, or the dwarves and their powerful enchantments, or the orcs and their shamans. You would think that bullets, tanks, and fighter jets would carry the day easy, but no. Not even nukes did squat. Oh, nukes worked fine, but then some dwarf would come along and purify the soil. An elf would restore nature, and a jerking orc shaman would summon the spirits of the dead back to the living world. Soon, our world was just another part of their overrealm and mankind. Without magic, we were nothing, less than nothing, not even slaves. We were livestock, literally livestock, to be bartered and traded and consumed. If you were lucky, you were given to the orcs, who would just eat you. There was a simple honesty in that, far better than having your life force drained by the elves to power their infernal technology, or work to death in the dwarven mines where your enchanted chains turned you into nothing but a meat puppet, denying you even the peace of death as your corpse continued to labor until your very bones turned to dust. A few of us were able to escape to the wilderness, sometimes by strength, sometimes by guile, mostly by luck. We were a pitiful band, but we managed to survive by lurking in the shattered places, areas warped by the collision of worlds and the magics used in the Great War that broke us. Not much grew there, well, nothing that you would want to eat. Anyway, so we resorted to raids where we would swoop down on the unwary, waylay a wagon, or sneak onto a farm. We didn't have magic, but a club worked just fine. A gun worked too, if they didn't see you coming. Oh, their wizards, enchanters, and shamans were stupidly, unfairly powerful, but some average point ear, stubby, or greeny. They died just as easy as anyone else. We did okay, but eventually we hit the wrong wagon and killed the wrong point ear. Their cousin's brother's roommate in elf college, or whatever, was some minor Watson, and that was that. It didn't take long. They had all of us wrapped up nicely. I figured they would just fry us in one of their soul trees, or whatever they called them, but that point ear decided to have some fun with us. He had some of those goddarn soul trees all hooked up in some weird pattern and stuffed them with people, laughing at them, saying that we were why their very souls would be devoured, and then made them thank us for ending their suffering. God, I hated him for that. Then he said that since each of us was thought ourselves their equal, which we didn't, we could receive their punishment. Each of us could choose how we died, and the trees would grant our wish. He then sat on a throne made of twisted living human flesh and laughed as each of us either tried to come up with an escape, a paradox, or at least tried to make the death as pleasant as possible. Whatever wish anyone came up with was granted, in the worst way possible. I was halfway through the line watching each of us get jerked over once again. Soon I was second in line, just behind Mark, and wouldn't you know it, that sorry mother stole my idea. I wish to die of old age, he said hopefully. That darn point ear laughed hard that time and waved his hand. Mark turned into a rapidly vibrating blur, screaming with an impossibly high-pitched voice. I watched in horror as he screamed, unable to move, blurring ever faster and faster. Then he started to age. They were forcing that poor sonophage to live out his entire life, standing in place, right there over just a few minutes for us. But for him, it was decades. Finally it was over, and Mark fell, withered and gray, to the ground. Now it's my turn. That goddarn point ear is sitting there smiling at me. He laughs. Jerking laughs at me. Go ahead. He snickers. Choose. Oh, I hate him. I hate all of them. I hate the elves. I hate the dwarves. I hate those jerking orcs. I hate this world, and any gods that let this happen to us. I want them all gone. Suddenly it hits me. I know what to do. Our technology was worthless against them, but our science? We knew things that even that point ear lord didn't know, things he wouldn't know how to stop, or twist, or pervert. I grinned at him. Well, me? He sneered. Could I say something first? I asked, the glee building within me. Why not? He chuckled to the amusement of all the elves who had gathered to watch the latest entertainment. I would like to tell all of you that it's been a lot of fun. I say, breaking into a manic giggle, but now playtime is over. You probably won't know it, but mankind just kicked your ace. I am now ready to choose. Your impertinence will be justly rewarded. Meet. OL point ears snickers at me. Choose. I choose. I giggle. Death by false vacuum decay. Point Ears is looking really confused right now. He's not sure how to handle this. You don't mean you don't know what a false vacuum is? I sneer, laughing. Even we lowly humans know about that. Of course I know what it is. Point Ears snaps and starts to wave his hand. I laugh and extend my middle fingers one last time. What is it? Screamed the elegant elf god, wreathed with flowers and glowing light as he threw raw mana against the blinding white wall pressing towards them. Taste cold iron, foul sorcery. The stout dwarf god, clad in mithril armor inscribed with glowing runes, as he heaved his mighty axe above his head. He swung down with a mighty blow, the divine enchantments cleaving the very air, the very essence of air, cleaving mana itself. The axe head disappeared into the glowing wall, leaving him with only the smoldering haft. Major Rinner, the dwarf bellowed, his eyes glowing with despair and rage. I can't find them. The old Orcish hag goddess cried out, waving the mother bones in front of her. Their souls are gone. All of them. Gone. They must be trapped behind this ward. The elf god yelled, pulling forth an ebon orb containing the trapped souls of millions. Yeah, that's not gonna work, a voice said behind them, followed by a munching noise. The trio turned to behold a beautiful people erectus, sitting in a lounge chair with a bowl of popcorn in his lap. Begone, animal, the elf hissed. Behold the power of the mighty Elverin. The orb crackled, glowing a heckish red hue, screaming with the voices of the countless darned. A huge crimson bolt shot forth, wreathed with beautiful elven script, striking the glowing wall with the force of 100,000 thunderbolts. Oh, the hominid enthused. Very pretty. Too bad it didn't do shoot. Munch. The glowing wall advanced steadily as the beautiful hominid munched happily. It's devouring the entire over realm. Is it? The hominid said, leaning forward. Yeah, these things kinda do that. To be fair, I did warn you. The hominid chuckled. I told you not to jerk with them. You did this. The Orcish hag goddess shrieked, pointing her bony finger at the ape man. Release their souls or face my wrath. No can do. Which face? The hominid chuckled. Your precious souls are kind of. Well, it would be difficult to explain to morons like you. The TLDARR is that you ain't getting them back. Not from this side anyway. The hominid grinned. You are, of course, welcome to go in there after them, if you want, he said, followed by another handful of popcorn. Don't be foolish, the god of the elves said to the hag goddess, as he summoned demon after demon to push against the wall, each one lasting only moments before bursting into flame. The puny human god knows no magic. I never said that, the hominid said, idly picking at one of his feet. I just said that I didn't use it. The whole magic thing is kind of stupid. I mean, I go through all the trouble of setting up this nice universe, and then I'm going to give just any mortal the ability to jerk with it? No, thank you. If some mortal is going to jerk up my universe, they need to be exceptional, like one particular acehole that comes to mind, the glorious captive. The hominid got up, moved his lawn chair back several yards, and then sat back down. The cheap plastic webbing was starting to melt. Besides, everyone screwing with reality plays holy heck with your omniscience. What good is being able to predict the path of every single particle in the universe if trillions of ace holes keep wiggling them? It keeps you from foreseeing shoot just like this. The hominid laughed. I don't use magic, so I was able to get a good seat for the show. He grinned. You totally missed it. It was really jerking cool. You could actually watch reality unravel in real time. I always loved that. The dwarf god summoned a mighty hammer. Oh, hang on, the hominid said as he gripped the arms of his chair and kicked off with his feet, landing hundreds of meters away, the popcorn miraculously remaining in the bowl. Okay, he shouted from the distance, let her rip. Dwarven glyphs swirled around Destiny's hammer as the dwarf god smote the ever-advancing wall, triggering a massive explosion as the hammer detonated. Yeah, that's not going to work either. I can't stop it, the elf god shouted as he wove reality-shattering magics. I can only slow its advance. It's so cute that you think that you're the one slowing it down. The overrealm is lost. The elf god yelled. We must save the celestial realm. No. The orc hag wailed, my souls. We must, pant, save ourselves and our realm. The dwarf god gasped as he struggled to his feet, his armor blackened, the glowing glyphs guttering out. Dude, that is some witch in armor. I thought you were dead. The elf god, orc god, and dwarf god turned from the glowing wall and fled, the glowing wall spreading and advancing behind them, devouring everything in its path, wreathing them in scorching flames, almost but not quite overtaking them, as the popcorn-munching ape-man laughed, his eyes faintly glowing. The three gods reached a glowing portal and ran through it only to find the hominid sitting in his lawn chair on the other side. "Begone, ape," the elf god sneered. "Go join your worshippers as they all burn." "Sure thing, chief," the beautiful hominid said, standing up and carefully folding his chair. "Make haste, animal," the dwarf god yelled, drawing yet another ornate axe. "I'm moving," the hominid said as he ambled past. "And put that down before I jerk you with it." As the beautiful hominid, silhouetted by the unraveling reality behind him, walked through the gate, he extended a single finger, snagging a wisp of the celestial realm and dragging it through the portal with him, sticking it in his mouth. "I can't close the portal," the elf god cried in terror. "How curious," the beautiful hominid said through clenched teeth, the wisp of their reality stuck between them. "It's him," the orc hag screeched. "He's cast a spell. I can see it," she screamed as her eyes glowed. Technically, the hominid grinned, his teeth still clenched. "I didn't. But yeah, I'm not going to let that portal close." "Sorry. Then you will die," the dwarf god bellowed as he charged. Which slap, the dwarf god was sent flying, bouncing off of the edge of the portal and landing in a crumpled heap. The hominid sighed, walked over to the dwarf god's axe, and picked it up. "Now what did I tell you I was going to do with this?" Splattered with blood, the elf god and the hag goddess backed away in horror. "I actually sort of regret doing that," the hominid said as the blood covering him steamed in the searing heat of the heckish fireball drawing ever closer. "I do really need to be more careful with my idle threats." He glanced down at the impaled dwarf god, the bloody haft of his axe sticking out of his mouth. "Yeah," the hominid added. "If either of you throws another spell at me, I will jerk." "No, I won't jerk you with anything, but you will suffer an unpleasant fate to be determined at the time of my annoyance." "Okay, kids," the hominid smiled as he stepped forward and wrapped his arms around the necks of the two remaining gods. "Let's go watch your world burn." As he dragged the pair through the portal, he glanced down at the dwarf god. "Sorry, dude," the hominid said. "I'd bring you too, but you're kind of gross. But don't worry, I didn't want you to miss the show. I've slowed down time around you, so you will be able to truly appreciate the rather unique experience that you have the privilege of enjoying." Later, as the beautiful ape-man dragged the two remaining gods through the portal, his fist shot out, smashing the portal's wall and tearing a permanent hole between the two realms. "What? Are you?" the elven god gasped as the fireball spilled over into their divine heaven. "Oh, nothing," the hominid chuckled. "Just the filthy animal god of the humans, that's all." "Ooh, that mountain over there will give us a great view of your entire universe going away." Grabbing the two gods by the neck, he jumped, covering the vast distance in a moment. He released his two captives and set up his folding lawn chair, which he always had, and sat, putting the bowl of popcorn, which he also was always holding, in his lap. "Yeah, this is a nice spot. You can really see that nice crystal palace over there vaporized nicely." He looked back at the elf. "That yours?" "It doesn't really seem like which face's style." The elf god just looked at him, shaking. "Just in case you were wondering," the hominid said as he put another handful of popcorn from the bottomless bowl in his mouth. "I'm tossing both of you in that fireball when the show is over." "Oh, look at all those little dudes trying to run." He snickered. The elf god drew a divinely sharp dagger, poisoned with the venom of the eternal worm, and plunged it into the hominid's back. Or tried to. The beautiful ape-man idly waved his hand, and both of the elf god's femurs shattered. "Now behave and let me enjoy this," the hominid said, not even bothering to look back. "This is actually very rare, because I don't build jerk, and I haven't gotten to see one grow from point zero in quite some time. If I have to look away once more, your last moments will go from extremely unpleasant to extremely unpleasant." We were just a joke to you," the hag goddess whispered, tears forming in her bloodshot eyes. Yeah, pretty much. You could have stopped us whenever you wanted. Yup. Munch. And you let it happen. Yeah, kind of a love that way. To your own people. Your worshippers. I've had a lot of worshippers, the hominid shrugged. They come and they go. And I don't need them like you scrubs. I just like them. You could have saved them. She gasped in true horror. And deny them their moment of glory? The hominid said, actually looking back at the hag. What sort of monster do you take me for? The hag fell silent in uncomprehending horror. The hominid cocked his head. Far in the distance, he heard weeping. Oh, there was plenty of weeping and screaming, and a shoot-load of praying, but this was an entity. He missed one. Can't let that happen. He looked away from the glorious human expression of pure hate and rage. Darn, he was going to miss those ace-holes, and looked down. Darting among the flames was a luminous woman with dear features. You know, like a furry. He was really going to miss humans. They were hilarious. She was grabbing every animal she could, her robes aflame, and stuffing them inside her, weeping and crying out for help. God darn it, the hominid grumbled. He stood and waved his hand. The fireball stopped its advance, frozen in time. To quote the man of the hour, the hominid said as he turned to his two captives, "It's been a lot of fun, but now playtime is over. Let's see." I know. The hominid's eyes flashed. You gods are eternal, right? Enjoy. Forever. Quick question. Do you know what causally disconnected means? No? You'll like it. It's fun. The pair of defeated gods disappeared. I kind of regret that too. The hominid shrugged and put on a bathrobe that was always draped over the back of the chair. Oh, the glowing dear woman cried out. My children. Don't worry. She cried. It's okay. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Actually, it is. A strange animal man dressed in a thick robe said behind her. I know not who you are. She cried desperately. But please, if you have the power, please help me save my children. I just so happen to have that exact power. The hominid smiled. Relax, shoot. We have all the time we need.